Hello, everybody. My name is Dan Skip Allen, and this is another episode of my summer series called Bleacher Features, where myself and a guest we talk about a sports film. It could be football, baseball, basketball, hockey, golf, anything. In this case, it happens to be baseball. My guest this evening is Marisol McKee. Marisol, welcome, and thank you for doing Bleacher Features with me.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, Dan. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, you brought up. You said you wanted to talk about A League of Their Own, and I was like, all right, that sounds good to me. And so that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about A League of Their Own. It's got a great cast. I know you're a big fan of this film.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. This is a top 5 all-time favorite for me right here. So I'm stoked.
Well, that's the kind of enthusiasm that I want to hear when we're talking about. When I do Bleacher Features, it's usually a film that the person I'm talking with absolutely loves, and I like as much as not as much as the person, but I like it. So it was one. If we're talking about it, it means I like the film, so that's a plus. Because I've gotten some people that want to talk about no thanks. Now we're not going to talk about that. You can go talked about that other film with somebody else, not me. But A League of Their Own is one of those films I definitely was excited to talk about. So obviously it's directed by Penny Marshall. Rest in peace. She died recently. The featured song is "This Used to Be My Playground" by Madonna. What are your thoughts about the director in that featured song?
The director and the song?
Yeah, just your thoughts. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think, Penny Marshall does big, broad, heart-tugging, feel good comedies really well. She did Big. Why am I forgetting what else she did right now?
I forget what else she did.
but just between that alone, even between Big and A League of Their Own, she had a real gift for capturing, just packing a movie full of heart. She has, you could just tell that she brings out the best in her cast. That's evident. She brings really, really warm, organic, just heartfelt performances at everybody in all her movies, not just this one, especially this one though.
Yeah.
I think she nailed it. I think, it was of course a loss to lose her, but she has made her mark. When they talk about women directors, which they talk about more than they ever have. But she's up there. She is a very important name to mention when you're talking about women directors who made just big time, big names, big emotions, great movies that everybody can enjoy and everybody can love. Penny Marshall was really great at what she did.
Yeah.
And this movie is an example of that. As far as Madonna, it's like a twofer deal whenever you put Madonna in a movie in like the 90s. Like, you're gonna get
a song.
Yeah, you're gonna get a song out of it. Boom! She was so huge. That's a win-win right there. And in keeping with the feel of the movie, really heartfelt, very nostalgic. That song was a good song, well put together. I don't know if she actually wrote it. I don't think she did. If Madonna wrote it herself. I don't know that actually.
I don't either. I just know she sang the song in the movie. So that's it. That's why I put it on here as the featured song. I always like to talk to either about the score or one of the main songs of the movie or multiple songs. Because a lot of times the music play a big part in the movie. This just happened to be in the credits. The song was, but it was a nice addition.
It was a nice song, but like if you want to talk about the score, Hans Zimmer did the score, and and man, everybody, whenever you think of Hans Zimmer, this is what I love. People forget you hear Hans Zimmer and people are so in the now about it. You know, you just think of Inception, you think of Dark Knight, you think of the really bombastic, you think of the horns, you know, the really broad, boom, like Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer made some amazing scores in the 90s. People forget that he did The Lion King, which is phenomenal. And people forget, you know, a movie like this, like A League of Their Own, which is score is top notch in this movie. The score injects so much life and personality and energy into so many scenes, especially like the playoff scenes in the end, and really captures, like, everybody was on the same page with this movie, and he must have gotten a really specific pitch about it. He captures like sweeping nostalgia, and like intimate, but like really, like I said, like grand nostalgia at the same time with his score. And Hans Zimmer does an excellent job with the score as well. This is
all right, well, let's get
favorites.
into the. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Let's get into the cast here. Gina Davis is Dottie Henson. Tom Hanks is Jimmy Dugan. Madonna is May Mortabito. Lori Petty as Kit Keller. Rosie O'Donnell, Doris Murphy, Megan Kavanaugh, Marla Hooch, John Lovitz, Ernie Capadino, Gary Marshall, Walter Harvey, Bill Pullman, Bob Henson, Taya Leone. She was the Racine first baseman. She's hardly in the movie, but you recognize.
But you recognize it the second you see her.
Yeah. David Strathairn, Ira Lowenstein, Betty Schramm, Evelyn Gardner, Ann Cusack, Shirley Baker, Ian Ramsey, Helen Haley, Tracy Rainier, Betty Spaghetti Horn, and Renee Coleman, Alice Gaspars. Got any thoughts about the cast?
10 out of 10. Like not a cast member wasted. Like just across the board, everybody in this movie, even the smallest players, leave an impression on you. Like, this is a ensemble movie, like truly, with some huge stars like leading it, and they're amazing. But like, even to like the tiniest players in this movie, there's, like I said, there's not a cast member wasted. It's an ensemble. Everybody gets moments to shine, even if somebody, like you said, like Ann Cusack, like even if you get like a 60-second scene with her, and it's so impactful, you know, and she's
and someone big like Tom Hanks takes a step back and takes a supporting role opposite Gina Davis and Lori Petty and people like that, because he knows that the Jimmy Dugan character is that important to the script, and he knows that being a supporting player is just as important as being the star players. And
yeah, and it's a real testament too that a lot of people, like so many people remember, like Tom Hanks says the most famous line from this movie, and he somehow, I don't know how, but he steals the show without taking anything away from the rest, from the story. Like, this is a story about the women in this movie, and you're so invested, and they are all excellent, and yet without taking anything away, like these two things exist at the same time. Like they're both the best part of the movie. I feel like you can't have it both ways, but like Tom Hanks somehow steals the show and yet fits in completely and perfectly in this world alongside everybody else.
Yeah,
you know, it's magic. It's magic.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. All right, so let's get into the movie here. The movie starts off with the framing sequence, and there's an end. Framing sequences usually have a beginning and an end, and this is the beginning framing sequence. Dottie is in the future, about to head to a reunion of the Rockford Peaches, all women's baseball team at Cooperstown, New York, home of the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. What an interesting way to start and end this movie, I thought, is to have this framing sequence. You know, sometimes framing sequences can work and sometimes they don't. In this case, I thought it worked very, very, very well. Yeah,
no, I would definitely agree with that. You know, it's quick. Like they get right to it. Like the flashback, you know, you meet old Dottie for, I don't know, like 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and then they're in it. Like she shows up, she's instantly transported, instantly starts reminiscing.
Yeah, which is good. Which is good for us watching the movie.
Oh yeah, it's great for us, and it also, you know, kind of makes a point that like all she had to do is just like step onto that field, like a field, and instant whoosh, and like it all came flooding back to her. I think I think that works as that as well to like prove a point about how much that meant to her.
And the ending framing
later,
sequences are more important anyway. The ending ones are. In my opinion, I thought the ending's framing sequences are better. All right, so World War II baseball players go to war. Walter Harvey, who owns a candy company, he's a candy magnet, and Ira Lowenstein try to keep the game going. They're thinking about how do they keep the game of baseball going. Eventually, we get into what they end up doing. We know what we're here to talk about, so it's not like we're going to break down the entire film here. Dotty gives a pep talk to Kit before her at bat. Hey, this is going to be a theme throughout the movie where Dotty is giving advice to Kit, and Kit doesn't listen. Big sister trying to help little sister, but no.
I can attest to that as a little sister. Yeah, that's what we do. That's how it goes. We're stubborn.
Yeah.
And even when big sister knows best, you know, nobody wants to be told, you know, nobody wants to be held back, feel like they're being held back. Nobody wants to told to be go against their impulses, you know, when you're so eager to prove yourself. And that's it in a nutshell. And that's a recurring, like you said, that's a recurring theme in the whole movie. And that relationship is the heart, like the beating heart of this movie. And that's so important. I don't think that would happen necessarily too if this movie were made again today. You know, it's one of the one of the ingredients that makes this work so well, that keeps the heart really intact in this movie. Is that push and pull relationship between the two sisters, I think.
Absolutely. So Kit mad she didn't get game-winning hit and fans giving her a hard time. Well, she didn't listen to her sister. So we all know that. We're not going to get into it too much. We know why she's mad, because she didn't get the game-winning. Her sister gave her advice. She didn't listen to her. So we'll move on from that. Kit doesn't want to be in competition with her older sister. Well, sometimes that happens. Look, when you have older sisters, you have younger brothers, younger sisters, family members, there's always going to be a competition. No matter what you want to be, if you don't want to be, it's going to happen. Whether you want it to happen or not, it's always going to happen. Because I got an older sister, a twin brother, and a younger brother. So there's always competitions, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, after the game, they have a milkshake. Oh, never mind. They didn't have a milkshake. After the game, they milk cows and work on the farm. Milkshake. No, they milk cows. So this is it. They're over there playing baseball. Then they're going to go home. Hey, you got your chores. Mom's like, you got your chores. You're going to go milk the cows and work around the farm. Like, oh, you got to remember when this was. This is in the 50s, 40s, and 50s. So this is a different time. Ernie comes to let the girls know there is a baseball league and the tryouts are in Chicago. Ernie wants Dotty, not Kit. See, this is where the competition between the two kind of starts heating up, because Ernie comes and watches them play, but he obviously knows that Dotty is the better of the two, and he doesn't want Kit. He wants Dotty, of course. So that's kind of puts a rift between them right there.
I mean, it's also it's business. You know, he was there with an objective, and it doesn't shy away from, like, you know, you could like somebody and somebody could work really hard, but, you know, even hard work sometimes, you know, it's who you know, and it was so important for her sister to be there to give her that opportunity. You know, her sister was like, you know, you got to take the both of us if you're going to take me.
Yep.
And
I got it right here. Kit begs him to come and try to show him she can play. Kit begs Ernie, and then basically Dotty says, hey, if you don't take Kit, you don't get me. Go ahead. What?
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, Dotty doesn't want to go. Dotty doesn't want to go. It's Kit that wants to go, but Ernie wants Dotty. So there's this whole kind of dichotomy here. Ernie wants Dotty. Dotty doesn't want to go. Kit wants to go. So then Ernie Kit's got to convince Dotty to go so she could take her with her. So this is kind of a little interesting little dynamic there.
It very much. I like how it throws a wrench in it. Like, we're used to, like, this could have been just one character. Like, we could have had this kind of story where it's just one character and they've got all this talent and their heart's set on proving themselves. And it's a really straightforward, like, it's a straightforward arc, like they're like, you could have seen a basic challenge where, like, this is their uphill challenge, just trying to prove themselves as a woman in this league. But no, they add like a layer of complexity to it where, what if there was somebody who had all the heart in the world, but like not as much talent to back it up? And then there was somebody else who had all the talent in the world, but maybe didn't want it as much, which is something that happens. Like those are characters that happen all the time. Those are actual people that happen all the time.
Yeah.
And that made it the movie instantly more interesting by adding those layers to those characters.
Absolutely. So the girls catch a train by running after it. So they have to go to somewhere else to look at another girl. Marla impresses Ernie until he looks at her and he says, "We'll let you know." Oh man, I feel so bad for Marla.
I just in a movie just littered with hilarious moments. It is so gold. Those like 15-20 minutes with John Lovitz is just gold, in the beginning of this movie.
Yeah.
He does not miss a beat. He does not disappoint. So mean. He's so mean. But
a male general.
Yeah. Omar Bradley.
Are you kidding me? That's awful.
But he was cutthroat. That's what he was there with a very specific assignment and a very specific objective. Get the best players, get the dolls, get the prettiest players. He was doing what he had to do. It happens. Yeah, the poster agrees. It's cutthroat out here. There can only be one.
There they all go. I got black widow for you. There they all go. They're all off the wall.
It's a jungle out here,
Yeah. Oh well. What are you gonna do? It's the tape.
Girls are getting cut. Posters are dropping.
It's the tape. It's not as sticky as I would like it to be. All right. So father says goodbye to Marla. She's crying. Dad says I love you, and then he says write to me. Then we get the tryouts in all places. Wrigley Field in Chicago, Illinois. We finally get the tryouts. That was a touching moment between Marla and her father. I really, he really came across as really loving his daughter. You could tell.
Oh my God! Once again, yeah, what the movie does best, gives you 60 seconds with these characters, and boy, like they nail it. Like it already tugs on give them 60 seconds. They're already tugging on your heartstrings. Completely believable. You completely believe that relationship between that dad and his daughter. That he poured everything he had into his daughter and teaching her baseball after the mom died, and it tugs on your heartstrings and it keeps it moving. And
yeah, it really does. Yeah,
it doesn't overdo it. Doesn't get too schmaltzy. It's just played perfectly. Great moment.
So we get Dotty and Kit meet May and Doris. Doris throws a ball at Dotty. Dotty catches it with her bare hand. This is a big scene in the movie because this is the first time these girls meet each other, and everybody's trying to impress, and then Doris is throwing a ball right at Dotty, and Dotty catches it with her bare hands.
Yeah.
Hey, Rosie O'Donnell, who do you think you're throwing that at? That was a big scene for me because I remember that in the trailer watching the movie. I'm like, oh, can't wait for this scene. How is this going to go? But yeah, so there's a kind of a competition going on between May and Doris and Dotty and Kit throughout the whole movie. They're always trying to impress each other because they think they're better than them,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the radio show talks about women's baseball, accusing Walter Harvey of turning women into men. That was when I was listening to that I'm like, no, they're trying to just give the people entertainment. That's what it seemed like to me. They're not trying to turn women into men.
No, it's good to bring that up. It's good to bring that up to realize, to tap into a little history right there, like to bring it into context. That was really important. Is it like, we can look at things in retrospect and be, we don't see it like that. Like we just see it as like, girls can play too. You're just trying to open up. We look at it in a very positive light, but putting it in a little more historical context there, like there were probably people with opinions all over the place. Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Like, why are you taking girls out of the kitchen? Why are you trying to turn women into men? That was good to put that in and put that in context, because that's probably what was going on. Yeah, that's probably what people were thinking.
Rosie the Riveter gets mentioned once in the movie. Rosie the Riveter. That's basically women having to go out and work because men are off at work. Well, they have to build the planes and do all the stuff, and that's where Rosie the Riveter came in. And so the same thing goes with, well, we don't have men baseball players because they're off and fighting, so let's get women to play baseball. So that's how that goes. Kit is happy that she's a peach. Girl can't read her name on the list. Her name is Shirley Baker. She can't read her name on the list. This is a time when women weren't like, there were some educators, and there were some people that had an education, but most of the time women worked. They worked around the farm. They worked in the house. They worked in the kitchen. They did menial labor type of things. So a lot of times they didn't know how to read. Neither did boys. Boys didn't know how to read too. There's a lot of men that didn't know how to read. It just so happens they wanted to show that a lot of people aren't educated.
Mm-hmm. Especially at that time, if you knew that if your family owned a farm and you knew you're going to be out there on the farm your whole life, that was going to be your life, like why you're not planning to send your kids into the city to a university, No. You weren't. And a good moment to just stop and put things in a little bit of context and see what else was going on and what realistically, not everybody would have been. There were super talented people, and even if these people were talented, even if these girls were talented, not everybody had necessarily the goods that we just take for granted nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. We do. We absolutely do.
Nice little period piece moment.
Yeah. Racine manager helps show off new uniforms to players. Ira give girls bad news about the league and its rules. See, the girls think they're just going to play in whatever clothes they got. They find out that, guess what? No, you got to look. You got to have makeup. You got to have nice hair. You got to wear nice skirts playing baseball. You got something. You didn't expect this. They didn't expect this.
Oh, sexism.
Sexism back in the 50s.
Good old fashioned, all American cornbread sexism.
Yeah. You gotta remember the time, and you're trying to sell something, because you look at the men and the families and everybody, they're used to all these other guys playing baseball, and then they're going to get these girls. They have to make these girls look in a way so they can be attractive enough so maybe people will come out and see the games. That was their mindset.
Yeah, I mean,
it's right or wrong.
No, yeah, it reminds you. It reminds you that, like, while this is a great story for these women, like their personal victories, in the eyes of everybody else, like this was a product first, and in the interest of the women second. This is a clear reminder of that. We're selling you guys. This is right. There's going to be a great, story here. Like the movie will still keep all its heart intact. And make it, a great story about these women and their stories without taking anything away from their stories. You need to put it in context and show what they were actually dealing with. And even though it was a great experience for them and they were just so happy to play, it was still at the same time, they were still being marginalized by
society.
Their victory was still being marginalized by reminding them that you're a doll in a skirt. We want to see a pretty face. We want to see a lady in a skirt with her hair down.
And with all that, And with all that comes dancing, dining, and walking lessons, plus makeup and a hair advice. They're getting ladies that come in there and teach them how to put their hair up, teach them how to do their makeup, teach them how to walk, teach them how to eat when they're out in public, teach them how to dance, because they're going to be out in public and maybe men might want to ask them to dance or something if they're single or whatever. So they're getting all these lessons before the season starts as well. It's not just about baseball. So Walter asked Jimmy if he can manage a team and if he's still a fall down drunk. Jimmy isn't happy about managing girls' baseball team. So we finally meet Jimmy Dugan, Mr. Tom Hanks, Jimmy Dugan, and Walter Harvey comes right out and says, "Are you still a fallout drunk?" And he's like, "But I don't want to manage girls' baseball." He's like, "You're lucky. You're lucky I'm giving you this chance." Walter Harvey, Gary Marshall.
Oh yeah, her brother.
Yeah. So Jimmy finally shows up. All right, so this is God. Jimmy finally shows up and drinks, takes a leak in front of the ladies on the team in the locker room. This is the first time he shows up, Marisol. He walks in drunk. He goes right into the bathroom, takes a leak in front of the women, and then he walks right back out.
This guy is an absolute train wreck. Like,
Yeah.
he is a train wreck. You know, he's
He doesn't want to be there. Basically.
He's uncouth, he's rude, he's a drunk, he's sloppy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's man, if this wasn't played by Tom Hanks, you would absolutely you would be like, what is this? Who is this asshole? Like, you would completely reject this guy, and it's absurd. It's ridiculous. He pees for 45 seconds into the sink. When he first meets the girls, he probably doesn't even know they're there. Not even aware of them.
I didn't even realize he's in the girls' locker room or whatever.
Oh no. It could have been his apartment or like a stranger's apartment.
So a kid comes up to him. He rips up the kid's baseball card of a girl. Rips up a baseball card from a little girl who wants it signed and leaves the locker room. Also leaves the locker room. Doesn't even talk to the team. There's no lineup card. So it's like he doesn't care. He doesn't even want to be there. He shows up drunk, rips up a little girl's baseball card she wanted to get autographed. No, not a little girl. One of the players. What am I saying? It's one of the players' baseball cards she wanted to get autographed. Rips it up.
That's right. Autograph for her husband.
Yeah. She wanted to get an autograph for her. Leaves the locker room without the lineup card. So they have to make up the lineup card themselves. Dotty helps make up the lineup card. All right, you're going to play left field. You're going to play right field, blah, blah, blah. All right, so and then the crowd laughs at the team. First experience the team has, the crowd laughs at them. It's like, it's a joke. These people don't even think this is serious. Yeah. That's the part about it that kind of is really crazy for me, is that the crowd at first doesn't even take them serious. You know, they're laughing at them.
Yeah, it keeps reminding you how it puts in context the struggle, like how far we've come and the things we take for granted, and probably how far we still have to go. It's also to start, that's a really difficult balance. Even that scene where you introduce, disheveled, unappealing manager, and instead of, getting all boo-hooey and beat up about it, the women instantly just come together and make a solution and carry on. Even if people are going to treat them like a joke, that doesn't impede on, it doesn't stop any of their drive or their momentum. They're going to get it done. And they make a lineup and they go out there and they play the game. And even when everybody laughs at them, even there's a great moment where,
I'll get to We're gonna get to everything. We're gonna get
Okay.
there. Well, I just want to get to this guy in the crowd heckle girls. Girl throws a ball at him and knocks him down. Yeah, so that's they don't care. You're gonna heckle us. Guess what? We're gonna make you pay for heckling us. I love.
Here's a fast one.
Yeah, here's a fast one right at your. We don't say what that word is. Dotty hits 3-run home run to win the game. And then Ira's lecturing Jimmy after the game. So even after all of this, they still win the game. Dotty hits the 3-run home run, win the game. And Ira, of course, is over there lecturing Jimmy about, come on, you're being paid to do a job. Jimmy's like, well, I'm just supposed to be a celebrity. I walk out, wave, and make people know that I'm here. That's it. That's what my agreement was.
No, he's not wrong. They got what they paid for. They got a wash-up who who had no interest in doing this job. So you hand him a paycheck, he's going to do it to the bare minimum.
Yeah. All right. Now, here's a quote that, to me, oh, God, this Jimmy. And this quote really hit home for me. I mean, I was like, man, you shouldn't be saying this. But I had to add this into this. Jimmy says, girls are what we have to sleep with after the game, not to play the game. That was not nice of Jimmy. Girls are what we have to sleep with after the game, not to play the game. That is just like the meanest thing,
Well, I mean,
it's a guy's guy. That's what he's going to think.
It is. It's on brand.
Yeah, it really is.
You got to show ugly parts of the character without and just again a testament to just Hanks's performance. It's a real testament is that nothing seemed, and this is going to sound really weird for me to say, but even all those sentiments, like nothing seemed like out of place. Like, not that you understood what he was coming from, but like in the context of everything, you're like, yep, okay. So that's how people thought, you see it more as people being, a product of their environment. And when toxic ideas about gender and gender roles are just, rampant, when that's the norm, it's
tough.
It's tough. Yeah. How do you, it's tough to look around that, but it's also just the reality. Like that makes sense. It's how somebody would think if that's what the norm is, if that's how the society treats people, if that's how other people relate to them, it makes sense if that's what he would think.
Yeah. All right. So TV show about the team, introducing them. Girl asked Jimmy if she can, Evelyn asked Jimmy if she can take her baby with her on the road trips. He's a sweet boy. Everybody will love him. Next thing you know, boy does nothing but cry. Bus driver quits and walks off.
Bald-faced lie. Yeah.
Evelyn's kid is a friggin' hellraiser.
Yeah, he covers the driver's eyes while he's driving.
Yeah, this kid's a brat. He's a brat.
He makes Dennis the Menace look like I don't know, a little saint.
Yeah. This kid's a brat. Let's put it. But I had to put the part. He's sweet. Everybody will love him. I had to put that part in there because that's what Evelyn said to Jimmy about it.
Spoken like a true mother.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's gonna absolutely.
He's a doll. He's just an angel.
Kid.
Everybody's gonna love him.
Yeah. That's what you say to the babysitter when your kid's nothing but a trouble.
Yeah, that's what they said when that poor girl had to babysit Jack in The Incredibles.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's right. All right. So the team liaison, Mrs. Cuthbert, gets dirt thrown in her face by the bus driver. Then Jimmy kisses her like she's like, Mr. Dugan, Mr. And then first thing he does is grab her and kiss her. Like, of all the things he could do, because he's drunk, he's tired, he's sleeping, whatever. He grabs her and kisses Mrs. Cuthbert right off the bat. Jimmy isn't happy, wants to know what's going on. And then, compares Mrs. Cuthbert to the Wicked Witch of the East in The Wizard of Oz. Oh, my God.
And then once you see it, you can't unsee it. You're like,
No. You're right. But she does kind of have a resemblance of the Wicked Witch of the East in The Wizard of Oz. Like, oh, no. But he kissed her. So, I mean, but I guess that's the first thing, when you wake up, you see a woman, you kiss her, I guess. I don't know.
Well, apparently, if you're in a drunken stupor most of your time, yes, and you hang out at bars and you meet a lot of fast people, yeah, apparently if you're Jimmy Dugan, that's what you do. Yeah, you bet a lady or two.
Yeah. All right, so May poisons food of Mrs. Cuthbert, making her sick. The girls go to a bar for dancing and drinking and mingling with the local wildlife. Kid propositions Dotty. I love that part. The kid goes up to Dotty and tries to get Dotty to have sex with him and do stuff with him. And they're just wanting to get away. I guess the girls are just probably just like, you got Mrs. Cuthbert, you're on a bus. Hey, you know what? Let's poison her food and go out, have a good time drinking and dancing and stuff with the local the local bar that's wherever they're at.
Yeah, because women are people too. They're not nuns. Like if I were trapped in spring training and under house arrest pretty much during this, I would want to break out too. We need to go out. We need to have fun. We need to dance one night, for the love of God.
Yeah, except when you have little kids trying to proposition you.
What does he say? He says, why don't you take me in the back and make a man out of me? And she looks at him and she's like, how about I smack you around for a couple minutes instead? He's like, can't we do both?
Oh my God, this kid.
Kid has no off button.
Yeah. All right, so team has to leave bar because Ira is coming. Marla singing karaoke at bar drunk. Girls giving confessions in church. So this is a series of things. So the team they're in the bar. They find out that Ira's coming, and then they have to leave, and they have to drag off Marla, who's up there singing karaoke. She found a guy that likes her or whatever. And then next thing you know, they're all in church giving confessions, which I love that part. Like they're all confessing all their inhibitions and the things that they did wrong while they were at the bar.
Yeah, another great character moment. You get to see Marla spread her wings,
Yeah.
They said they didn't even give her booze. They just gave her a dress. And she got up there and started crooning to a lucky guy in the crowd.
Yeah.
Great moment. Great character moment.
Then you find Jimmy just drunk hitting BP at the ballpark at night. I guess that's what you do when you're drunk and you're all by yourself. You go to the ballpark and you hit BP by yourself, batting practice by yourself. Okay, then this is a turning point in the movie, in my opinion here. Jimmy and Dotty argue over what to do during a game. Marla is confused at the plate. She gets a big hit though. So this is a scene, if you've seen the trailer, if you've seen the movie, where Jimmy and Dotty are arguing. Marla's like moving around, like, because they don't know whether she should bunt or she should hit away. And the two of them, Dotty and Jimmy, are arguing. Finally, Jimmy's starting to come around and care about the team here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he sees something. He finally wakes up. I guess he was a little more sober this day. And he finally realizes that, there's somebody else coaching his team. And finally he wakes up, he's finally catching on and realizing that he actually has some really, really good, as Ira said, like, you got some good ball players out here.
Yeah.
And he couldn't see at first because he didn't want to see. And once he realized that there's actually a bunch of talented people out there, he was like, oh, wait a minute, this is my team, Yeah.
Instead of bunting to
lit a fire under his butt.
Yeah, it did. You're right. And then we are going to do a squeeze bunt. And he was like, no, I want her to hit away. Not squeeze bunt. Girls are playing it safe. And of course, he said, no, I want her to hit away. Yeah, so that was kind of interesting how the difference in coaching style between the two of them. All right, so girls talk about Dora's boyfriend, Charlie, and how he treats her. Yeah, so I guess Rosie O'Donnell's character, they needed a character moment for Rosie here. And I guess back home, her boyfriend wasn't the nicest guy to her. And so it was kind of a sad moment having her tell the other girls about going back home because she's got this guy back there that doesn't treat her very well.
Yeah. Important moment, another small moment, but important one where that talks about how women settle when, when they're told that they're too different, they settle for people who make them feel like less than what they are. And because you just want to be loved. You just want to have somebody, women, people, this is like people do this. This is not exclusive to women.
No, you're right.
But that character at that moment was demonstrating in this context, in this particular context, like athletic girls, girls who are great at sports aren't like, who aren't, a princess, a delicate princess in a tower. They're scrappy, they're hardworking girls that were made to feel like they weren't desirable, like made to feel like they were different. And so, yeah, like I said, they settle because they just want to be made to feel like they're normal somehow, and they settle for less than what they deserve. And great moment, she's like, you know what? I'm surrounded by a bunch of women who are all just like as awesome as I am, and like I don't need this punk. Like I don't need him.
Yeah.
Bye, Charlie.
All right, here's the moment that everybody knows, everybody remembers. Jimmy yells at Evelyn because Evelyn misses the play. She throws the ball to
she
the
misses
wrong.
The cutoff.
Misses the cutoff. She misses the cutoff, and of course, Jimmy starts yelling at her, and then says, he's yelling at her, and then she goes, "There's no crying in baseball," and then compares it to his career, and then insults the umpire, says he's just a big penis with a hat on his head. There's no crying in baseball. That's the famous scene that everybody remembers because Evelyn misses the cutoff guy, and he starts yelling at her.
Even better, the line right before that. I mean, not even better, but like another line right before that where he says, like, you start using your head. And he's like, that's that lump that's 3 feet above your ass. There's just zinger after zinger after zinger in that scene.
Yeah. But obviously the famous scene is there's no crying in baseball,
That's the immortal line.
But of course, these are women. They're not used to being yelled at by people like this, so it's kind of very surprising for them.
I think it's just surprising in that context. Like, it sounds like Evelyn had a lush for a husband as well, because there's one part where like somebody's freaking out, and Evelyn's like, "That reminds me of my husband." Like, sounds like her husband probably wasn't that great to her either.
And then leaves her with the kid. Doesn't even want to take care of the kid while she's playing ball.
Right. Yeah. Like, case in point. Yeah. He's like, take care of the kid. She says like, yeah, you should just take the kid. She says a story where like she asked the husband to look after the kid, and he was like, she should just take the kid and shut up about it. So she probably doesn't have it that good either. But like, being in that context, I think maybe that sports context or that having a hard coach was probably a first for her, and she didn't take it that well.
No. All right. So Ira tries to get Dotty to do story with Life magazine. Writer and photographer May upset at the prospect of League closing down. Girls are at church. Jimmy has to get the girls from church. They created a catch a foul ball, get a kiss promotion. All right, so you're not going to do this in Major League Baseball, but because it's women, they come up with this promotion. If you catch a foul ball, you get a kiss. And of course, this becomes a huge promotion, gets a lot of people to come to the games.
Yeah. It sounds contradictory, but sometimes you got to work with what you got. And this was one of those where they do a other series of like, gimmicks and fun things. Like they throw like balls at like posters of Hitler and like they do other gags, to get the crowd into it and everything. But that's one where catch a foul ball, get a kiss. It's one of those things were using some things to your advantage. And if you're already in a league that's going to exploit the fact that you're women, it's one of those. It's something that women have to always do. It's one of those, not always do, but like it's something that they're not a stranger to. Yeah, is that like having to work with what you got and use the fact that you're in a context of people are looking at you or taking advantage of you because you're a woman. Use that to your advantage sometimes.
That's right.
To give yourself a boost.
So Marla gets married to the guy from the bar, then leaves. She leaves the team. Guy convinces one of the girls to slide, of course, bruised her whole leg up because she's sliding in a skirt. Not good. Not
dirt
good.
in the skirt. Oh, yeah.
God, that
didn't that look like that hurt?
Yeah, that looked like it really hurt. I'm like, come on, don't be sliding. You're in a daggone skirt. You shouldn't take advice from jerk in the crowd.
Well, also, like they didn't even set these girls up with the right equipment to play their game the way they should play the game.
I know.
It's messed up.
Should have been wearing long socks. That would have helped too, But all right, so montage of plays for multiple games during the season. Team is playing good. Okay, once again, we get Dotty and Kit arguing. Dotty talks to Jimmy about her husband who's in World War II. Jimmy says he's not in the Army because of his bad knee. Jimmy tells Dotty she's the best player in the league. So this is a whole segment where Dottie's arguing with Kit, and then she gets in this kind of heart-to-heart talk with Jimmy. They're starting to get along, and Jimmy's starting to get along with Dottie pretty good here. There was a segment, though, where Jimmy didn't even – some of his own players, he doesn't even know their names in the game. I mean, he's like, you go here, and you
blonde girl.
Yeah, he's like, so there was that point in the season where he still doesn't even know his players' names. Get over here, you're up the bat, whatever. So then Kit tired at the end of the game. Jimmy takes her out. Kit not happy. Okay, this is where we start really starting to get some problems with Kit here, because Kit is used to just pitching full games, but Jimmy wants to win the game, and so he's got Betty sitting out there ready to go, and Kit's not happy that she's being pulled out of the game. But this is the game of baseball. They're there to win.
Yeah, check your feelings at the door, man. Like it's Kit's front loaded with her emotions. That's just the character, and she's got a lot of pride, and it makes sense. Pitchers do have a lot of pride, but then you got to also be able to bow out. You got to know when it's your time. When that manager walks out to pull you from the mound when you're throwing, like Dottie said, she's throwing grapefruits up there or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that moment. Such a great moment too, where you have to, like, you can't protect your little sister anymore. You have to. If you're going to get her to that point and push her, make her the best player she could be, all that stuff, you got to make a decision with her best interest. And also, if you want to just win the game, you got to make the right decisions for the game. You can't,
absolutely.
You can't be nice to you can't hold your little sister's hand.
Nope. All right. So Walter tells Ira he won't need girls next year. War is about to be over. Baseball isn't in jeopardy. Ira wants to keep the league going. Walter Harvey says there's no room for women's baseball once the war is over. So basically, he wants to end women's baseball after this season. And Ira thinks it's a commodity, and he thinks there's value in it, and he wants to keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
Kit and Doris get into a fight. Jimmy carries Kit into the locker room and turns on the shower on her. Doris is picking on Kit about the not being able to stay in the game. And then, of course, Kit, like you said, she wears her emotions on her sleeve. And the only way to calm her down is Jimmy puts her in the shower and turns on the shower on her.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow. I've actually had someone do that to me, not the shower, threw a bucket of water on me.
Ooh, yikes.
Yeah.
But did it calm you down immediately?
Yeah, well, I was not a happy camper after getting that bucket of water thrown on me, I'll tell you. So I know exactly how that feeling is. So Kit and Dotty argue about game and backing her up. So this goes back to the grapefruits, throwing the grapefruit. Kit was upset that Dotty didn't back her up. But the fact of the matter is Dotty was trying to help win the game. And Jimmy asked her a blatant question about, hey, you think she should be in there? And she's throwing grapefruit. She should be out. And so, of course, Dotty argues about the game with backing her up with Dottie's right and Kit is wrong. Why does Dotty have to be so good? And she asks, Dotty decides to leave the team and go home. So this whole argument causes Dotty to want to leave and go home. But all right, so this is also a business. You know this. You know it's a business. We know the business aspect of sports. What's his face? And then Dotty says, "Trade me or I'm going home." That's what she says to
Ira. Yeah, Mr. Levinstein. Yeah. And
then guess what happens instead? Kit gets traded instead of Dotty, and she came into the room where they're all sitting and relaxing, throws a baseball right through the window, almost hits Dotty in the head with the baseball. Because Kit thinks that it was Dottie's fault that she got traded. And what she doesn't realize is it's a business. Dottie's the best player on the team. They ain't going to trade the best player on the team, even if the two are sisters. They're going to get rid of the lesser player because that's going to solve more problems, solve the problems by getting rid of that person and keeping the better player, even though they're sisters.
Yeah, really human moment there too. Like Dotty, it's one of those things where Dotty was caught up in, because Dotty can separate herself from the game so much. She just got caught up in her she was so invested in like caring about her sister that she didn't think about, she was naive to the fact that like that's what he would have done. Like, she kind of brushed through. She's like, yeah, whatever, just trade me. Like they weren't going to do that. She should have slowed down and foreseen that coming, and knew that would have happened. And she's like surprised that Kit got traded when she should have realized that, it's business. It's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Girls singing in the locker room before the game. Jimmy smacks Mrs. Cuthbert on the backside and says she's a gorgeous stack of pancakes. I love that line. Yeah, you're a gorgeous stack of pancakes. But you can get away with that back in the 50s. You can't get away with that now.
Sexual harassment. Oh, the good old days.
The good old days. Yeah, you ain't going to be smacking anybody on the back. Calling them a stack of pancakes nowadays.
Took a smacking.
Jimmy excited about bonus in his contract. So Jimmy comes to find out he's got a bonus in his contract. Jimmy gets mad at man who delivers bad news about one of Betty's husbands in World War II. Gives her a letter. She cries. So the guy's there delivering the letter for one of the husbands. And he's like, wait, the name's not on the letter. I got to leave. He's like, no, just give me the freaking letter. Because they're all sitting in there and they know one of their husbands, something happened to one of their husbands at World War II. And it turns out it's Betty Spaghetti's husband. And she's, of course, distraught about the fact that something happened to her husband in World War II.
Yeah. Yeah. This is one of the most effective scenes in the whole movie. Just devastating. And then they get to it quick and they nail it. And it's devastating. The reaction, like the way she falls apart when she realized her husband died, and the way the air just sucks out of the room. It's just, these girls are having fun, but like at the same time, like their husbands are dying. Yeah, literally dying.
Yeah, they're right. Men are off line. So Dottie's crying when her husband comes home from the war with injured foot. He is discharged. So Dottie's husband comes home from the war. He's got an injured foot. That's Bill Pullman. But she's crying.
I do want to throw in something here, if I may interject here. There are deleted scenes from this movie, and one of them, usually deleted scenes are usually just like extraneous. Often they're deleted for a reason. But there's a deleted scene for A League of Their Own that I do think puts everything in a really interesting context, a certain relationship in an interesting context. And when you see Dottie crying, like right before her husband shows up, they deleted a scene that took Dottie and Jimmy's relationship in a different direction. There's actually a deleted scene where Dottie comes out onto the pitch while Jimmy's like doing batting practice. She comes out there and she's talking to him, and he ends up kissing her, which was a deleted scene that never made it to the final cut of the movie, but it's on like certain DVDs of the movie. And I think that's really interesting. It kind of changes the way you look at their dynamic, like knowing that. It changes how you see certain scenes play out with them when you know that originally in the original script, like they were building that to be a more obviously romantic relationship. Like there was romantic interest in there rather than just like kind of, like a friendship, like, of mutual respect.
Yeah.
And it puts it in a different context when Dottie's crying. Like she was actually crying not only because she thought, they edited it to make it seem like she was crying because she thought her husband might die, but she's really crying because not only she thinks her husband might die, but she's just kissing another man on top of it. And she just,
I'm glad they cut that
terrible.
scene. That scene does. Yeah. I'm glad they cut that scene out of the movie though.
Isn't that interesting? Like, yeah, like because it does, like, it's like, ooh, like, the character had enough complexity and they're great characters, but it's something that like you didn't quite want that to happen and quite have that to go there. Because that would have changed it would have changed the dynamic in the movie a little bit. But fun fact.
Yep. Thank you for that. Jimmy yelling at team for not being on the bus and signing balls for the kids. Dottie and husband going home to Oregon. Jimmy lectures her about the game and the team. It's gotten too hard, she says. Jimmy, if it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. Very, very good scene, I thought, because they're going to go off to the World Series. If it wasn't hard, everybody would do it. Very good point by Jimmy. And Dottie's like, it's gotten too hard. Nothing, anything you put your mind to and anything you enjoy and anything that's great is something like this. You're playing Major League Baseball. Of course, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. And, in that line from Jimmy, if it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. Yeah, I love that. Love that. So we get the World Series. The series is tied 3-3. Both teams have won. Racine has got 3 games, and the Rockford Peaches have 3 games. Jimmy's gives a pregame speech. He says, "Feet be swift, bats be mighty, balls be plentiful." I love that. Balls be plentiful. Like, I love that. The beginning of it, then it goes, balls be plentiful. I mean, what is balls be plentiful? But whatever. It's funny. It's a funny pregame speech. So waitress at South Bend roots for the team, says, "Hey, girls, hey, good luck. I hope you see it all the way through." The waitress, she's a waitress in South Bend. All right. And then here's another scene that everybody remembers. "You're killing me, Alice. You're killing me."
Her socks. Yeah.
Yeah. So then he didn't realize it, but Dottie shows up for the last game. She got as far as somewhere. I can't remember where she said she got. And then they turned around and came back. And then I love this kind of like little banter between the two. Jimmy says, "Who says you can play?" Then says, "Because you're dressed, you can play." Dottie insults Jimmy. Yeah, so Jimmy's like, "Well, what makes you think you can play?" "Well, you're dressed, so I guess you can play." And then, of course, she calls him a curse word or says some curse word to him or something or some insult. That's the relationship Dottie and Jimmy have got to by this point in the movie, where she can just insult him and get away with it. And it's just like he just sloughs it off like it's nothing, Yeah. Kit pitching for Racine. Okay, so here we're getting close to the end of the game here. Evelyn makes a bad throw, which is par with her character. Makes a bad throw again here. Allows run to score. Jimmy mad at her again for missing the cutoff man once again. He doesn't explode, though.
He grows.
He doesn't explode, though. He kind of like grits his teeth.
Oh, he looks like his head is about to explode. He looks like he's about to internally explode, but he doesn't actually verbally explode. Yes. Yeah,
but that was good. We see growth in his character, like you said. So Peaches are down to their final out. Dottie up to bat. with versus Kit. Now, let's have a little context here. Dotty has played baseball with Kit her whole life. She knows her pitches. We go to the beginning of the movie where she's telling her, don't do this, don't do this. So she knows what she's going to do. Dotty knows what Kit's going to do. Let's put it blatantly. So what happens? Peaches get the game-leading hit because Dotty not only gets the hit, hits it right back at Kit. I mean, line drive through the middle, right back at Kit. Kit has to duck. That's how, when you hit the ball back at the pitcher, that means you are ready for whatever pitch was coming your way. You knew what pitch was coming.
You got around on it early enough. Yeah, and that ball went straight forward.
Yeah.
Didn't sail out. Yeah.
So that tells me that she knew what pitch was coming, and she hit it right back at Kit. Yeah. All right, so but the Peaches are leading now 2-1. And Kit, of course, Kit is crying, and everybody's like, stop crying. And then there's a big catch. Dotty makes a great foul ball catch, falling into the dugout, which was just an amazing catch. So now here we go. Kit is up for Racine. This is the redemption scene here. Kit, after crying for giving up the game-leading hit to Dotty, now it's her turn to.
All comes down to this.
Yeah. So Dotty goes to the mound, says, throw high fastballs. She can't hit and can't lay off them. So that's going back to the beginning of the movie where she's telling her, don't hit the high fastball. Don't be swinging at the high fastballs.
Great. Right? Yep. And it's a great moment too, because it's one of those moments where Dotty finally found, she really found that fire to win so much that she was like, I love it. She was like, you know what? My sister can lose. I want this. I'm going to win this World Series. She tells the pitcher exactly what to throw so her sister will miss the ball. I love it.
Yeah. So Kit gets game tying and winning hit. Racine wins the World Series. Walter Harvey agrees to stick with the league. The excitement about that game in the World Series, the Women's Baseball World Series, convinces Walter Harvey to stick with women's baseball for a little bit longer after Kit gets the game-winning hit. So Dotty comes to visit Kit after the game, buys a flyer. Smart move, buys a flyer. She wants something to remember the season by, so she buys that flyer as a keepsake. I thought that was a nice little move there. Of course, even in the end of the movie, it wouldn't be this movie where if Dotty and Kit weren't arguing about the final play of the game. Of course they're gonna argue. They're sisters. They're gonna keep arguing, but no matter what happened, they're gonna argue, even if it is about the last play of the game. So Donnie and husband go home, and Kit stays in the area and gets a job with the girls, which is, I like that. Kit is able to build a life for herself in that area, and then Dotty is going back home with her husband, and she's gonna have a family back home. I thought that was nice to put that in there.
Yeah, that everybody can still, you can have this amazing experience that means so many different things to different people for different reasons, and then still everybody can find their happiness. Even if they're all coming from different places with different agendas.
Of course, Dotty tells her she's going to miss her. And of course, Kit, she says, how many sisters do you think I have? So she's basically saying, even though we argue and stuff, and I'm giving you a hard time sometimes, you're still my sister. I still love you, and I'm still going to miss you. I love that part, because I argue with my brothers and sisters, but to this day, I just, I talk to them when we talk and stuff. They're still your brothers and sisters. They're your family. They're all the family you got. You're not going to have any other family besides who your brothers and sisters and your parents or whatever. If you don't have parents, which basically I don't. So Dotty introduces her husband to Jimmy. Jimmy turns down. Jimmy gets offered a job in Wichita, turns it down. She says he's already got a job, which I loved. I love that he turns the job at Wichita down and says he's already got a job, which is coaching those girls. He goes from being a drunk and being just not caring about what the heck he's doing to, hey, I already have a job. That was a nice scene for Jimmy there near the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then we got Doris, because I didn't talk about this, but Doris' father says if they win, he's going to buy her a steak dinner. Of course, if you see what, Rosie O'Donnell, she's going to eat her steak dinner. She's going to say, I want my steak dinner, Doris says to her father. I'm going to get my steak dinner. Dotty meets. So then now we're going to go back to the framing sequence where Dottie's back at the Hall of Fame. Again, Dotty meets all the girls again at the Hall of Fame. Also meets Stillwell, all grown up, and he breaks the news that his mother is dead. But he thought it was right for him to show up there since he did have that experience with those women.
Yeah, it even meant something to the little bratty, crazy kid.
Yeah. So the Women's Baseball League and its players and managers are officially inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame All-American League. Kit and Dottie meet again as well. Kit meets Dottie at the Hall of Fame. They haven't met since back then, obviously. Then they all take a photo of the Rockford Peaches. All the original Rockford Peaches take a photo together. So this is what I always do, Marisol. What I like to do is I like to, first of all, ask my guests the relevance of this movie. Obviously, it came out in, 89, 90?
92.
92. So almost 30 years old, 28 years old. What's the relevance of this movie still today? Why does it still stand up today? And then also, what does this film mean? Why does it meant something to you to talk about this film? Why do you love this film so much? Those are my two questions I always ask the guests.
Yeah, my answer is pretty close for both of these questions. But it is a timeless film. Like it is a film about a very specific time, and yet its themes, it's so universal in its themes, and its character motivations and the heart of the story is just so universal that it's timeless. Like the movie transcends, the specific story that it, the specific time frame of the story that it's in, because of the timeless themes of fighting for, acceptance, following your heart, finding your voice in a group and coming together as a band of misfits, coming together, getting second chances. If you're somebody who fell off the wagon and now you get a second chance, there's so many powerful themes and character arcs in this movie that just make it timeless, that are just relatable to all kinds of people, no matter who you are. That gives this film longevity. That's why it's going to last. And importance, because it is a story about women. It knocks the Bechdel test out of the water. And it's important because of that context, and important just as a movie, not only a movie about women in sports, but just a movie about sports. I honestly think this is one of the best sports movies ever made, but tying into the universality of the themes. I really do think it is. So much broad, heartfelt, relatable stuff here that'll make this stand the test of time. It means a lot to me personally. I saw it when I was like a little kid. I saw it when I was so young, and it just instantly, I just instantly fell in love with it for specific reasons. For me, is because I saw myself, those were people representing. I've always been a very much into sports from a very young age. I was a scrappy little tomboy growing up. And so again, and then I was a little sister. So I also related a lot to Kit. But that is, I can never stress enough how much it means seeing yourself represented in stories And when you see, and for me, like why it means so much to me as a little girl growing up, to see like just an amazing story of perseverance and teamwork and camaraderie and enjoying and loving sports and being a girl, and people trying to tell you that's a weakness, but it's not a weakness. It's actually what gave you your strength. It's the fact that you were a girl, you know. It's Penny Marshall nails it. It's so important, and it's not, and nothing's overplayed. Like nothing's overtly political or hit over the head. Everything's pitch perfect, and not no points are trying to be driven home too hard. Like everything's subtly done. And I've heard some people say this movie's too sentimental for them, and I can't see it that way because I'm just so biased. I just love it so much. You know, it's hard to, and it meant so much to me that I would never say it's overly sentimental, because it is sentimental for me. So like I can't be objective in that sense or agree with other people about that. But you know, it's just important. Another tiny little part that I forgot to mention, which I've talked about, what makes it important is the core historical context for so much of it. There's a little moment, it's like a blink and miss it moment, but a really good historical context moment in this movie too is, so we're so caught up in the story and the struggle of like these women trying to like prove themselves and prove that like, you know, like they can do this too. And like, you know, like they're worth your time and that they matter too. In the scheme of things. And there's a moment where Dottie's playing the game and one of the balls like goes off to the side. And there's a bunch of black women standing there on the side, on the side away from the field, and they pick up the ball and Dottie's like, hey, throw it back. And one of the women, like they're in plain clothes, they were just observing the game. And one of the women throws it so hard and so fast, like it sails over Dottie's head. And Betty Sue catches it. And she's like, oh my God. And Dottie looks back at her amazed, and the woman just nods. And it's such a, like, it's a blink and miss it moment, but it's such an important thing that the movie, like, it's the details like that. Like, even still, even though you're caught up in this, you know, like these women are being marginalized, but the movie reminds you a step further that it was white women being marginalized, that black women were just not even being given this opportunity. Like, you know, like it still reminds you of like, this is a great story, but you have to remember everything that's going on. But remember the power of like the human spirit to still overcome like the situations that are in front of you. I thought it was so important for that movie. Like that was such a great move to like bring that moment, to put it in context. It wasn't a downer. It didn't bring you down. But it just reminded you, like, you know, it's so important to remember, to never forget, but like keep going forward and keep improving.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was wondering if you're going to bring that up or not. I didn't have it in my notes. I was like, I wonder if she's going to bring this up. It'll be interesting. Boy, did you bring it up. I'm glad you did, though. Yeah, you know, I absolutely agree with everything you said. This is such an important movie for women and just so many different avenues in the world today to show that the 50s, it was something that women were breaking out and doing things like this, but they still had stigmas that they had to live down back then, you know. And it really had so many really memorable moments from Tom Hanks, obviously, but it's a movie about the relationship of family and friends and also the fact that, yeah, you can play a game like this, but there's a real world out there and there's wars going on and there's men are off fighting for your country and for the freedoms that you have, that you're allowed to be able to play baseball. And so there's a lot of messages in the script. And I wanted to mention the script. I meant to mention the script at the beginning, but I forgot to. The script is written by Babalu Mandel and Lowell Gans. I'll tell you what, I absolutely love the script because they really got all those little moments, like you're saying, the little moments about the ball rolling off to the fence and the girl picking up and throwing it. Those little moments that got put in there that really help round out the script. But it really is a great movie, and it really does have some great messages that'll stand the test of time. Not only 28 years later, 48 years later, 58 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie will stand up. Anybody that says it's kind of schmaltzy or whatever, you're probably just not a girl or a woman. You don't realize how important this was for women of that time and how of the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, whatever. And little things like that helped improve the rights and the freedoms that women have. I was watching, I'm watching a show called Mrs. America, which was such a struggle that women had in the 70s of just trying to get basic rights for themselves and their bodies. It was an incredible show. But yeah, A League of Their Own will always stand up, and it has great messages and great performances, great direction. That's why I was glad you wanted to talk about it with me on Bleacher Features. So I'm very happy that we had this opportunity to talk. Where can you be found, Marisol?
I can be found on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. Most of you have. I like the community there. I'm also on Twitter. I changed my Twitter handle at Marisol, Marisol, Mariah, Miriah. And on Instagram as well, hashtag Marisol Mariah on there as well.
And you can find me at Dan Skip Allen on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. Also, I'm a film critic. I write for a website called disappointmentmedia.com. That's DISIPPIONTMEDIA. I write about movies coming out in theaters. There's not been a lot of them, so I've been doing a lot of retrospectives, people dying. I do a movie about a review about something that they were in, like Brian Dennehy. I did a Rocky review. Irfan Khan, I did a Slumdog Millionaire review. A lot of anniversaries, Gladiator, Pretty Woman, Braveheart. So right now, that's what I've been doing a lot of. I got my Dick Tracy coming up pretty soon. But also I do another show called The Top 5 Weekly. Right now, there's not a lot. I just posted my last episode of The Top 5 Weekly until we get some more movies. Marisol's actually on that. Spike Lee joints. That was the last episode I did with Chance Ellison and Marisol. So we're not going to be doing any of those for a little while until we get some more movies in theaters.
Until they bring back drive-in theaters, man.
Yeah, well, new movies in drive-in theaters, not old movies in drive-in theaters. I want to see new movies. I don't mind going to a drive-in if it's a new movie. If it's an old movie, I got to just go to my shelf and pick it off the shelf. Or go to my Vudu account and click on it. I got hundreds of movies in my Vudu account. But so until that, we're going to be posting a lot. This is my summer series, and we're going to be posting a bunch of these episodes over the summer. So if you want to see some more of these episodes, you like sports, and you want to hear myself and some people talk about sports movies, well, that's the place to find them, Bleacher Features. So for Marisol and myself, good night, everybody.